Okay, Kathy Sperl-Bell, thank you so much for joining us on the Happiest Retirees
Oh,
podcast.
you're very welcome.
Now, you're joining me right now live from your Airstream, correct?
We are sitting in our 25-foot flying cloud Airstream in Medora, North Dakota.
Okay, and you mentioned Medora is Teddy Roosevelt territory?
Teddy Roosevelt territory. I mean, this whole town, it's like what you would think a Western town, a nice Western town would look like. It's been restored, renovated, rebuilt. They have theaters. They have a this Medora musical that it's a whole review. It's kind of like the North Dakota version of going to Nashville and going to see the Grand Ole Opry.
Okay.
So it's a whole musical. It's the storyline. They tell the story of the growth of the town and of Teddy Roosevelt, but it's very well done. It sounds kind of kitschy, but it's really very well done.
Yeah, it sounds like, you'd have, like, the faces of Mount Rushmore singing and dancing or something.
That's our next stop because from here
Oh,
we're going to Sturgis, and we were
okay.
we were warned to make sure that this annual motorcycle, you know,
Yeah,
love-in is
the
over. So
Harley David or yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so that has been ended. So we will
Oh.
and we'll go to the yeah we'll go to the all of the monuments and parks there as well. So
So the
it's been
bikers have left and the Mount Rushmore fans can come in now. Is that kinda
exactly the same.
okay.
Yes.
Okay. So you're tell me you're traveling all around the country in your Airstream?
This
Or
we've done this a couple of summers now since we retired, but we left this year on June 1st from Key Largo, Florida, which is where that's our primary residence now. Uh,
okay.
and we took kind of the southern route out. I call it mixing, visiting national parks, cities that I thought I would like Santa Fe, Sedona, and also visiting friends, some of whom I have not seen. Uh, the two gals I saw when we were in Oregon on the coast, up near Portland, but on the coast, I haven't
Yeah.
seen since we were 20, and I'm now 76.
Wow, okay.
We were in
That's
flight attendant training together with TWA.
oh my gosh.
Is that right?
Had any of you changed at all?
No. We look
Really?
I mean, yes, we've changed. I have gray hair, obviously. Um,
No,
but
barely.
but I would have recognized them, and they felt the same. We didn't none of us had put on a lot of weight or, significantly changed our style. They were
Yeah.
still Peggy and Patrice, and I was still Kathy. It was hysterical, though. It was
I
such
mean,
fun.
how does it so how long you worked together for a few years or something and then you
We
just kept in
well,
touch?
uh, without Facebook, it was a little hard back then.
Yeah, yeah.
Think about it. I mean, so we kind of did lose touch, but I think it was Patrice that tracked me down a few years ago via Facebook. And
Oh,
we've been trying to put this, together ever since. We were going to do the cross country last year, but life got in the way. So we did it this year. So we went the southern route all the way, stopping in Austin, San Antonio, Santa Fe, Sedona, visited friends in Palm Springs. Oh my God, it was hot.
yeah, it's
I,
really hot
don't
there.
go there in July. It's
Yeah.
awful. And we ended up
Yeah.
in San Diego, where I have a nephew who just got engaged, spent some time there, went to a Padres game.
Ah, yes.
Then, of course, worked our way up the coast. And we only have a 25-foot Airstream, so we could take the Pacific Coast Highway almost all the time, which is
Okay.
absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it's pretty breathtaking.
Oh, it's gorgeous. So,
Yeah.
my husband had to drive Miss Daisy to wine country, of course.
Yeah,
It
of
had
course.
to do a little wine country. I think of the picture
Yeah.
I sent you, we were at, either Buena Vista or Dry Creek Vineyards.
Okay. And you
Lovely.
said you had me at Merlot? Is that what you
Yeah.
said to your husband?
Anyway,
Okay.
did that. Then we ended up in Port Orford, Oregon, along the coast, just across the border into Oregon, where the daughter of a very dear friend of mine that I grew up with lives. My friend
Oh,
unfortunately died of ovarian cancer, 11 years ago. So it
okay.
was good to see her daughter and a granddaughter. So we just had a lot of fun. So then after that, up to near Portland with the flight attendant friends, then across to Billings, Montana, where we
Yeah.
spent time with my friend Tora, who was my roommate in New York City in like the early 70s.
Okay. Well, you really know how to keep in touch with the old gang.
Well, I've lived in many parts of the country. I've had, a checkered past, and
Yeah.
I do have friends that have also dispersed. And, the only people I really know in Key Largo are people I either play pickleball with or my artist friends now.
Okay.
So I thought this was something I had to do. I wanted to see these people that have been important in my life.
I mean, I really admire that. It's hard to keep in touch, let alone actually make a plan of driving to see the person, you know?
Well, my husband does the driving, I do the planning.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So he goes where I tell him point to point. Next stop.
I'm married, so I know that dynamic pretty well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, you each have your skills, right? You each have
Yes.
your skill sets.
Yeah. Now I was looking at your so you have a retirement blog. You wanna tell us, the name of it so people can find it?
My retirementstory.com. Yeah.
Doc yeah, myretirementstory.com.
My retirementstory.com. Yes.
So I was looking at it and I did notice you hit a few California. I'm in California, so I keyed in on
Okay.
the California cities, but I did notice when you stopped in San Diego, you wrote, "I always find something to like about a city, but I could live here."
Yes. Well, number one, once you start adjusting to the weather in Florida, you can't take the cold anymore. My husband
Right.
absolutely hates the cold. In fact, on our first date, he started working on me about the Keys.
Really? He
Yeah,
got right in there.
he got right in there and told me
Yeah.
his goal, and I was thinking, well, now how's that going to work? But he explained later that because I had done so much traveling, internationally, even that was one place I had not been.
Oh,
Well,
he knew how
so
to
that
yeah.
that was his.
Okay. Well, okay, we're gonna get back into your kind of origin story, but I did since you mentioned that you live in Key Largo, I wanted to ask because I don't really know that much about the Keys, but my brother-in-law loves Key West. So
Of
how do you
course.
pick one key? Like what's
That's
one
a good that's
key?
a good question, and they are very different, frankly. I mean,
Okay.
when before we moved there, we used to take first a couple weeks, then a month, and go to Key West. I mean, Key West is a great place to spend a few weeks, a month.
Okay.
Uh, the prices also of housing were going like, through the roof. We
Yeah.
tried we made, a run on a couple of properties. My husband also not only were we in real estate together, but he did remodeling, renovation.
Oh,
He's
okay.
never seen a building he doesn't go, "Ooh, I could do something with that."
Yeah.
But the prices were getting out of reach. And then we
Yeah.
started thinking about it when we realized we might be able to buy something, that we're not night people. We really, we're just not party people.
Right. Yeah, which is I guess is Key West the
Oh,
party key?
oh, oh yeah. Yes.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, there's
Okay.
other things. When we would go, there was a group that used to do yoga on the beach in Fort Zachary State Park. So I would go to yoga. I mean, there were a lot of other things too. But you
Okay.
combine
Okay.
the prices getting out of reach, and the fact that, just like everywhere that's popular gets too popular and starts to change.
Yeah.
The locally owned stores became tchotchke shops. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Duval
Yeah.
Street started to become tchotchke and hawkers, and so we ended up, coming up further. We bought a property in Isla Morada, which is mid Keys.
Oh, that's its own key is Isla
That's his own
Morada?
key. Yes, Isla Morada.
Okay.
Is actually Isla Morada is made up of a couple of keys. It's called
Oh,
it's the Village of Islands, I think, is what Isla Morada stands for. We
okay.
bought a property there. That's too long a story, but it was one of these in the middle of Isla Morada, in the middle of the art district, that had been vacant for 15 years. It was a mixed use building. Of course,
Oh, okay.
my husband was like, hmm,
I can do something with that.
oh man, that was the project. So we did buy it. He renovated. I mean, it needed everything, electric, plumbing, everything.
Okay.
Renovated it, had commercial on the first floor, and he made a gorgeous 2-bedroom, apartment on the 2nd floor. We lived up there for a while. We have 2 artist tenants on the 1st floor, but then I mean, that was an investment property. So then
Yeah. Oh, I see.
we leased upstairs, bought the house in Key Largo, and then we sold that property last year because, as I said, I'm 76. We're at that age. I don't want any obligations.
Yes.
I want to travel.
Yeah.
I want to have fun. I don't
So
want,
you sold the Isla Mirada
yeah,
rental property, and
yes, we
you
sold,
kept the Key Largo house that you
yes.
live
So we
in.
kept the
Okay.
house in Key Largo. That's our base. But
Okay.
our plan now is during the summer to do things like this. And then in October, we're going to Spain and Portugal.
Wow. Where in Spain and Portugal?
Well, we're spending a month. So we're going to Madrid, Barcelona, so Barcelona,
Yes. Yeah.
yes,
Barcelona.
Barcelona, Sitges, um,
Okay.
Valencia, and Malaga. And then my husband looked at it and Bill said, "Boy, we're going to be awfully close to Casablanca. Can we sneak over there for a couple days?" So we're going to Casablanca for a couple of days, and then
All right.
we're going to Lisbon. So
Okay.
Portugal's
In
smaller, so
Portugal.
we can travel around from Lisbon. But
Now, when you're in Casablanca, do you think the 2 of you can reenact any of the scenes from the movie just for
well,
fun or
that might be fun, huh?
Yeah, it's the
I
start
mean,
of a
he
beautiful
says,
friendship.
well, actually, in the Airstream, one day he went into a pawn shop and he found a whole bunch of old, VCR type tapes, and there happens to be a unit in the Airstream. So if we're somewhere and we can't get any TV reception or anything, we played. Which one did we play? The Maltese Falcon or
Oh, another
After
Humphrey
the
Bogart.
Queen, another Humphrey Bogart movie.
Yeah. And the thing about Portugal, so, I mean, obviously Spain, yeah, I would love to go. It's a dream destination, but I've heard that Portugal is also it almost matches it in beauty, but it's a lot more affordable.
We've heard the same thing. I haven't
Yeah.
been to Lisbon since I was a flight attendant, so that's been like
Oh,
I was in Barcelona. Maybe about 8 years ago, when I was still in Delaware. A couple friends and I went on a yoga retreat to Barcelona.
oh, okay.
It was marvelous. The food,
Really?
when and this is true throughout Spain, but I noticed mostly in Barcelona, there's no filler food on your plate.
Yeah.
It's the tapas. Everything is delightful. It's just,
Yeah.
I love the food. I love the wine. I mean, what's not to love? And
What's
the
not to
the
love?
architecture and the art, you know,
Yeah, is it Barcelona that has the,
Gaudi Museum
uh
and the
yeah, or the
Familia
yes.
Sagrada. Yes,
Is that the building that's still
that
not finished?
correct. Yeah,
They've
they've been
I mean,
working
how long have they been
years,
building it for 100 years or something?
something like that, but it's
Yeah.
incredible. I
Yeah,
saw
that's
it
what
when
I
we were there, so I'm looking forward to taking Bill to see that, and the
yeah,
Picasso Museum and, all the other Gaudi influenced architecture. It's a beautiful city, and
beautiful.
Sitges is a seaside town that's only about a 30-minute train ride from Barcelona.
Oh, okay.
It's gorgeous.
Now, how are you gonna drive the Airstream across the Atlantic Ocean?
We're not, obviously, no.
Oh, okay,
No,
okay.
we're going to fly,
Okay.
and I asked the gal that, we have a travel agent that put it together for us. I said, "I don't wanna stay in Hiltons, I wanna stay in places where the Spanish would stay."
Oh, okay. To
Nice
be
hotel, but
more immersed.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I like the smaller properties that have a little more character.
Right, I can imagine that would give you a much better taste of
Sure.
the culture and everything, yeah,
Absolutely.
instead of being separated by some big resort.
Yeah, not with all the
Yeah.
other Americans.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
I'm trying to brush up on my Spanish using Babbel, so
Oh, great. I've
work
thought about doing that. Okay. Is it working?
well, I think so. I'm not saying I'll be able to fluently have a conversation, but I'll be able to understand, read a menu, you know, they don't expect you to have perfect punctuation and perfect grammar,
No.
but, you know, "Como está?"
Right. I think if they see you trying, they'll be pretty
Yeah.
helpful with it, you
I'm
know?
better I'm better in French. I took more French, but But I always found that
Okay.
in France also, if you try, they'll help you. But if you're just
Oh,
the ugly American and, expect them to speak English, then they get offended.
right. Which I mean, that makes sense to me. I mean, if you're a visitor, you can at least try, you know.
Exactly.
Okay, so that sounds fantastic. Let's circle back to the beginning and do like a quick rundown of what you did during your primary working years and sort of how it led to where you are now.
Quick, huh? So I was born in New York, raised mostly in northern New Jersey, and I started plotting my escape probably as soon as I could walk. Y-
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
17, right after high school, I moved into New York City into a YWCA on
Okay.
45th between Lexington and 3rd, called Morgan Hall.
Okay.
That was where you stayed if you couldn't afford the Barbizon. The girls that came from money could get a room at what was called the Barbizon.
The Barbizon.
The
Okay.
Barbizon, yes. But I was at Morgan Hall. I came from a family where my father did not think girls should go to college.
Ah,
So that's the story. I said, "Oh,
yeah.
well." I went to a bilingual business school in New York City because the nuns in my high school, even though I was number 10 in the class, said, "Well, your father doesn't think you should go, so oh well."
Really? So they were in
Really?
on it too. They
Yeah.
didn't want to.
No,
Okay.
I was bucking the
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
I went to it was a 2-year school. I did it in a year and a half, and I
Wow.
my first job, I had a choice of the CIA,
Really?
Yes, the CIA, United Nations, or Air France. And the CIA wouldn't tell me where I would be or what I would be doing. I thought that was a little strange at 19,
Yeah.
20.
Yeah.
And Air France paid more than the United Nations. And that the United Nations, all I would have done was sit like you have those earphones on and translated. You
That
know,
would have been your whole.
that would have
Yeah.
been kind of boring. And that probably would have been what it was with the CIA also. But with Air France, I started as a bilingual secretary for the general management in New York, which was fun. But it didn't take me long to realize that even in French, being a secretary was not my thing. So,
Okay.
in fact, Dora, the gal I just saw in Billings, I got her a job at Air France. Long story, but we were talking about that. About we just got pigeonholed. You didn't have
Yeah.
you There was no career path. I remember saying to the personnel director, it was back before HR, I said, "Well, can't I get into sales? That's what I want to do." And he actually, I was 20 years old. He got me a transfer to Los Angeles to the district sales office because he said, "Well, maybe in a smaller office." That
Okay.
no secretaries got transfers, but he helped me. He was nice.
Oh,
But no, they laughed at me.
really?
But
After all that?
oh, yeah, they just said, "Yeah, honey, you're gonna meet the right man, you're gonna wanna have a family." I said, "I
What
don't."
year was this? Was this
This was in,
this?
like, 1968.
So it was just sort of a general. We're not letting you do this type of
Oh,
attitude.
things they could say things like that, "Oh, honey, when you meet the
Yeah.
right man," if you said that today, I'd be a multimillionaire.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway, side note, I lived in Los Angeles the year Bobby Kennedy was assassinated.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I lived close enough to the Ambassador Hotel to hear the sirens.
Did you have an alibi or you? No,
You're funny. Uh, anyway, so I realized, no, they weren't gonna let me get into sales, and they wouldn't let an American fly for them either. One Saturday morning, there was an ad on the radio. Um, Literally, I was doing nothing. It said, "TWA is interviewing for international flight attendants that are fluent in a foreign language." I went, "I'm not doing anything today." And I literally I went to the interview and they hired me on the spot.
Real? Okay.
Oh, because they really needed it. Used to be a requirement to fly internationally, you had to speak a foreign language.
Oh, I did not know that.
That
Okay.
changed while I was still with them, but at that point in '68, that was the case.
Wait, did you say that was still Air France or that was
No, that was
TWA? That
TWA. That was
TWA.
TWA,
Okay.
right.
Okay. And so you that is that was a step in the right direction from secretary to flight attendant, like, that
Well,
was more it
truth
gave you more
fruit
yeah,
is freedom. I said, "I'm gonna wait for my age to catch up with my ambition," and, rather than
yeah.
sitting in an office and being harassed,
Oh,
flew
man,
in an
okay.
airplane and got harassed, but
At least you were mobile.
at least I was mobile. No,
Yeah,
really,
okay.
when you think about it, what else could I have done at that age that would have allowed me to travel all over?
Yeah,
I mean, it was eye-opening. It was very I think travel is the best education,
yeah. What's that isn't there a Mark Twain quote about travel?
probably.
It's the cure for bigotry or something like
Well,
that.
it
I'm
is.
butchering it. Yeah,
But living in New York City when I first did was like that too. I mean, I remember thinking, "Oh, thank God, life is more interesting than I thought in Pompton Plains, New Jersey," you know, uh, which was,
that
Dutch
wasn't a
Dutch
super interesting
Reform,
place.
Protestant, white male.
Yeah.
So I fit in New York much better.
So you how long did you do when did you stop being a flight attendant?
Um, it was a few years, and then I was offered a special assignment to TWA corporate. They were having a problem with stolen liquor fifths
Hmm.
and stolen the we used to cook in flight filet mignons and things, and they were disappearing from planes. So who better than to hire a flight attendant? And there were two of us, a friend and I. They brought in to figure out a system to identify and stop the theft. Isn't that
Huh.
amazing? I remember,
Yeah.
uh, you know, I I don't know how I sound now, but when I was young, I didn't sound like a kid, but I looked at 22, 23. I still looked about 16.
Okay.
So I would show up at the different Pittsburgh, and where they do all the food meeting with all the people in charge. They'd look at me like, "That's you? You're the battle axe that we were expecting?"
Yeah, you're the imposing authority figure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was hysterical, but we
And so
found
you were like a filet mignon detective seeing who was
yes.
taking these things?
Well, we
Okay.
found because you've seen how they load food onto planes, those containers with all the
Yeah.
well, it turns out that, in fact, Pittsburgh was one of the offending, stations. I even went out to Guam, so they flew me around all these places, and we literally designed a system that back then was all paper. I signed it over to you, you signed it, and then eventually they sent us to learn Fortran because that was the programming language back then. I mean, this is probably all before you were even born. But
Fortran, okay.
but because they turned this into a program,
Yeah.
a computer program,
You mean they used what you did and
and then
converted it
they
into
converted it to
Oh,
yes, we created the programs that they then,
that is really cool.
it was fun. So
Yeah.
I ended up leaving. I got into stayed in the travel business. Again, I wanted to get into sales because what happens when you're in sales? You're paid on commission.
Right, you can make
Okay.
more
So it's harder to pay me less.
right.
And
It's up to you, and you're someone who sounds like you had a lot of ambition and sort of like,
well,
you had an engine.
I just didn't I wasn't going to sit back and say, okay. I,
Yeah.
I wanted I wanted a shot. Anyway, I got into sales in the travel industry. Started with a company that specialized in doing incentive travel programs for corporations. So back then, the only way you could get a discounted trip was to charter a plane. So it
Okay.
was a charter, and somebody put together a whole package for you. So I started putting those together and going out and calling on corporations, and I did pretty well at it. Um, what did they do? The company I did so well, they brought in somebody over my head.
Okay.
You know, here we go. But
Yeah.
I then was with a company called Hawaiian Holidays, did that same kind of thing, taking people to Hawaii. Um,
Oh,
and did that for a while. I ended up then with a hotel company doing the same kind of thing. Group programs, going to corporations and trying to get their meetings and conventions. Ended up then at a Hilton Inn up in Cranston, Rhode Island as the director of sales. That was after my first divorce. That was a long time ago. Um,
Okay. And
and
you're moving to these companies, or are you being sent in as like a hired gun to do these management
no,
programs?
it was me. It was me.
Okay.
I don't even remember how I heard about some of them, but in some cases it might have been a recruiter
Okay.
or a headhunter. But in fact, I think it was a headhunter that got me the position with. It was a Hilton Inn that was managed by Helmsley Spear out of New York. If you've never heard of Leona Helmsley,
Yeah, I've heard of, yeah. Wait, what, why do I know Leona Helmsley?
she was a
There was
witch.
a She
There
was a
was a
what?
there was well, she let's say working for a company that Leona owned was no better than working.
Oh,
No,
okay. Yeah, she was famously sort of mean, or is that,
mean.
was that
So,
kinda,
yes,
okay, mean.
yes,
Yeah. The Queen of Mean.
the
That was
queen
her
of mean.
nickname.
That's exactly what it was. That was
Yeah, okay. Okay, was that for sales doing corporate group travel, or this is still before that?
well. This was after that. This was
After that.
managing the
Okay.
sales of a particular Hilton Inn that had
Okay.
actually been. It had gone bankrupt, was bought by a bank and managed by Helmsley Spear. So I took over a hotel that had zero business and built it up. But
Oh, okay.
yes, but once again, after almost 2 years, I was told I was overqualified for the position, and there was nowhere else for me in the company. I was the only female sales director in the company.
Yeah.
It's just it was a tough
Which was
role.
something you were kind of used to by that point, I would think, you were, because you were constantly running up against that.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at that point, it was okay. And I was in Rhode Island. I thought Boston would be a better place. I called a headhunter in Boston. I said, I got to find a way to make some money. I have to get into an industry where I can do something.
Yeah.
And he eventually called back. He said, I've got the perfect job. I said, okay. He said, computer store Framingham, store manager. I said, I'm sorry, what? Computer store?
Yeah, you didn't know anything about computers. Well, although they had designed that program around
Well,
your
exactly.
paperwork.
But
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't know anything about computers to be a store manager. He said, trust me, nobody does. Because anybody back then, this would have been like 77, 78. Anybody that was in computers thought they were toys. You know,
Yeah.
it's a
It was for
fad.
games.
It's for
Yeah.
games, just so
Right.
literally, we were such a ragtag group, the store managers, from carpet salesman to, just, but we were all people that I remember now that Apple, when Apple started, they did because they were having a problem finding people.
Yeah.
They did an analysis. What are the kind of people to hire? And they said you have to find people that have a need to know.
Okay.
That was, didn't matter where but a need that would figure it out, that would, dig in and figure stuff out.
You mean they wanted someone with that kind of personality who, like,
Well, somebody that would
maybe
just tackle the job and figure it out because there
like
were no real.
a filet mignon detective, someone who had that that mindset, right?
Exactly. The
Yeah. So you were in kind of immersed in all that, and then did that lead you to working for Compaq Computer in Houston?
Yes, yes. I what I decided I wanted to go with a software company at that time because I really liked the applications more than I liked, the hardware. We were the entrepreneurs that literally got Compaq off the ground. And then, of course, as it got bigger, the suits from IBM started coming over.
Did
But
they
I
own
made
it yet? Or did they own it,
no,
or they
they
bought
never owned
into it,
it.
or
They never owned it.
oh, they
Actually,
never.
after I left, Hewlett Packard ended up buying Compaq, and it kind of
Oh,
disappeared the name.
yeah.
But uh, it was incredible in the beginning. It was challenging, rewarding. I made it to director level.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
For
but
someone who was up against, I mean, a pretty thick glass ceiling, you really were fearless, it seems like.
well, I regrouped myself. I did it many times, but
Yeah.
that was a good one. But then I transferred back to the DC area as the area sales manager, and everything was really good for a while. But like I said, the suits were coming over from IBM, and it was, you're really supposed to have a master's for that position, Kath,
Oh,
and you don't even have
great.
an undergraduate degree. It's like, okay, but I've done it, haven't I? I
I
kind
have
of know how to,
something better. I've experienced, yeah, I've been doing it.
but
Yeah.
it's like, so now what? It just kept getting to that point. Now what? I then
Yeah.
got hired over by Wang Laboratories, decided they were going to start a PC division. They were very late to the table, but I liked the person that was doing the recruiting, and I went into Wang, um, hired a whole new group of people, trained, but Wang just didn't know what they were doing with PCs.
Ah,
They never got their act together with it. And it's a
yeah.
shame because they were so early with they were early in networking, they were early in word processing, but they just never really they never got on board.
Got out of the gate.
There was like the son of Wang and another they were fighting. They didn't ever get on the same team, just
Okay. So,
unfortunate.
how did you go from that? So then, was the next big reinvention was starting your own Active Adults
Well,
Realty?
because yeah, when that didn't pan out, there was I tried a few other things, but the business had kind of had setbacks. The market had setbacks. Things got a bit touchy there for a while.
Mm,
In the mid '90s, I was like, okay, I had to regroup again, and that one was hard. You
yeah,
know, I
that was
was,
the big.
you know, when you're getting around 50, and now what? That was tough. I
Yeah.
uh, I ended up deciding to move over to Delaware because while you're in DC, the closest beaches were the Delaware beaches,
Okay.
and I was single. I was single for 30 years in between marriages, so I got
Oh,
into
okay.
a beach house. Every weekend you'd be over at the beach. I said, well, let me move
Yeah.
over to Delaware and see if I can figure something out. And
Yeah.
um, in 2000, uh, I love jazz. I think I've mentioned that a few times.
Yeah.
Um, I'd met a couple people. We went to Rehoboth Beach to go to the Rehoboth Beach Jazz Festival in October of 2000. And I got picked up by this nice young, he's younger.
Strapping young gentleman.
Yes, uh, who I'm now married to.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, well, at least he likes jazz. Well,
Yeah.
I'll at least give him a date.
Right.
And he had had his turmoil. He was divorced not that long, and regrouping. I said all he had was his good looks, but
That's a good line.
yeah, they're pretty. And we just kind of, he told me all his stuff. I told him all my stuff, and they come out like, worth a try. And we
Yeah.
literally we we supported each other, and I mean, we ended up getting together. And he said, I always wanted to start a remodeling company. I said, well, then do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I guess one of us better go find a way to make some money.
That's important. Yeah.
And literally that next Sunday, I opened the News Journal in Wilmington, Delaware, and there was an ad that this 7 office real estate company who had a vice president who was pretty smart had their own website. And in 2000, not too many realtors had websites,
Yeah.
but they were getting inquiries and leads, but they didn't know what to do with them. They'd hand it to a realtor, and well, that one would turn out to be a dud. So, oh, those are a waste of time. So literally the job they hired me for was called Internet Business Development Manager.
Okay.
And my job was to set up a whole system so that when people responded to the website, either by phone or by email, I would be the first one that they would talk to, get more information. And from that point, I could pick any of the agents in the 7 offices. And my deal with the agents was if I give you a lead, you have to give me feedback. You have to, keep me posted and tell me what happens so I can go back to the president and show him that this is worthwhile.
Okay.
And I was able in 2000, going into 2001, to demonstrate 1 year, $20 million worth of new business.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
And I thought, real estate. I'd not
Yeah.
thought of it, but I realized I liked real estate. So they promoted somebody else to that position because it became an administrative position. And I got my license, and Bill and I got married, and I was finally in the right place at the right time because I was in my 50s. I had been through all kinds of changes and relocations and, now what? And I very early in my real estate career as just an individual agent came up with this concept of Active Adults Delaware. I was going to focus on people like me from all those expensive states, high tax states, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, DC, Maryland, Virginia, right? Delaware was right.
Yeah.
And it had beaches and it had. So I started literally just focusing on that market. I created a website, which, like I said, back in the early 2000s, very few realtors had their own websites.
Right. So you were way ahead
And
of the pack by having one.
exactly. I was early and I started generating my own leads. I was doing very well. So then Bill got his license because I was getting busy. And by about 2008, which was, if you remember, a big dip, the real estate market it was terrible.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, the Great Recession, right? That one.
exactly. It was,
Yeah.
yeah, it was tough.
Yeah.
I decided that if I was going to stay in real estate, I had to have my own brokerage because, I wanted to do it my way.
Yeah.
And because he was also in construction, long story short, there was a property on the main road into Lewis, Delaware that was for sale. It needed everything. But I said, I don't want to rent an office. In this market, I wanted to start out owning the property and owning the brokerage. He turned that garage with an apartment above it into a beautiful building that became our office.
He worked his magic like he does when
God,
he has a
yes,
project. Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Did a fabulous job. And I focused on building the business. The Our office manager came from the company we'd been with. She came with us, so it was the three of us initially. We called ourselves the three-legged stool, because I did the marketing and the sales and Bill did the back office. He took care of the accounting. I did the forecasting. He did the accounting. And Judy took
Okay.
care of all of the paperwork for any the contracts and all that part. And
Wow.
and
So it was a
we
team. It was
oh,
an all-star
absolutely,
team.
absolutely a team.
Yeah.
It was the three of us doing what each of us did best.
What year was that? That was 2010,
So by the time we officially opened, it was 2010, and
2010.
I remember sitting with Bill and Judy saying, "All right, what should we call the brokerage?" Active Adults Realty. I mean,
Yes.
so we
Yeah.
stayed with that. And it's funny because the local real estate stars that had grown up there, and their mothers were in the business, they thought I was crazy. They had, "Oh, you got to limit your market." Yeah, I said only to the people that actually have money. The Delaware beaches. Well, it was not a first time home buyer market. You know what I mean? It was
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
wasn't the business there.
So you sold Active Adults Realty in
Restate it.
2021,
Right.
right?
Um,
And and
yeah.
and so you and
2021,
that you were
almost 22. I forget the
and
exact
that's how you
date.
were able to retire at when you
Yes.
were 74. So and what does that mean for you, retirement? I mean, are you're just not working at all and you're
I
focusing on.
I've resisted. I would find myself starting to think about doing it. I said, "No." And now
Yeah.
that I took up, painting, which I had never done. I never took an art class,
Really?
never.
'Cause
It's
you love it now.
full
You're an abstract painter, right?
I love it. I absolutely love
Yeah.
it. And, so I joined an art guild. I'm doing that. I do participate in the art guild's shows or some of the other, the high school will have the fair, things like that. So I'm
Wow.
doing that. I have a website. You've seen the website, I think, with
Yeah,
my
yeah. I have. In fact, I wanted to bring up I liked, your painting called Dinner Time, and it looks like a pelican who's sort of, like, looking looking at all the
looking at
fish that he
the
might
looking at the yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, you
Yeah, I
see
like that.
the keys all the time, but, yeah, I do the tropical series. I do a lot focused on jazz or dance or, I like the more abstract things, which is not necessarily what sells in the Keys, but I'm working on other things. I found a company up in Montreal that does clothing. I can upload my painting and I can choose, I want a duster, a scarf, a beach cover up, and it's incredible. I mean, so I'm going to see what I can do with that when we get back. We'll be back to Key Largo the end of the month.
Okay.
Got to get serious again.
Time to yeah.
So
It's for you to get specific, you also it's time to get abstract, so it's sort of a ironic little thing.
I said my other love is, we're active, and Bill and I both love pickleball, so we play a lot of
Pickleball?
pickleball together, and we even play
You
on the
you
road.
play 4 or 5 times a week, right?
Yeah,
Or
for 2, 3 hours, each.
that's amazing. How do you do that while you're on the road or that you
Well,
can't? Or
we do, believe it or not.
oh,
Well, there are apps. There's one called Places to Play, so when we're on the road, I'll put in, like, Medora, and find out where people play, and, there's
oh,
beautiful courts here. We played this morning, we played yesterday morning, we played a couple times here. We've played almost everywhere we go. And what's nice about pickleball compared to, like, tennis, it's it's competitive, but it's also social. And most
yes.
places you go, they have what they call open play. And some places it'll be in the morning, others it might be at evening. Um, and when you show up, people will, all right, you two go off, and these two people waiting will come on. So
Okay.
they include you in a
It's not like
rotation.
cutthroat. It's not like get off, we're winning here.
No, it
Yeah,
really
okay.
I'm sure some places, but we have not run into that. And where we play in Key Largo, we have a system, we have a board, and you have squares. So if you put a foursome together, you're in that square. The next foursome's in that square, and and we that way you keep mixing up the groups. Of course, they're always the best players that only want to play with the other best players. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Yeah.
But typically it's social, it's it's a lot of exercise. I'm sorry, you play for 3 hours. You're
Yeah, you're
not
burning some
not too
calories.
many not too many overweight pickleball players.
Do you consider yourself a picklehead? Isn't that a fanatic?
Uh, kind of, kind of. I mean, I would miss it if I didn't play. It's
Right.
because, uh, you know, it's physical activity, so it's exercise. It's a lot more fun than jogging. It's a lot you know what I mean? It's because it
Yes.
has the social element also. It's not like, "Oh my god, I have to go to the gym," or,
Right.
it's just fun. And I
Well,
mix
and
that with yoga to try to keep my poor body in shape. I did break this a couple years ago. I fell playing pickleball. You've
oh,
heard that
no.
break your fall? Mm.
Yeah,
Broke my fall, protected my head, but I broke my
but you
ooh, that was painful.
so how long were you out? So
I
you
was probably out almost a year because,
yikes, okay.
it was yeah. I have 2 plates and screws.
Okay. So anyone out there looking to play pickleball, 2
Don't fall.
big pieces of yeah, don't fall, and if you're looking for a place to play, go to or use the app called Places to Play. Those are
That's
some
one of them.
tips.
There are others, but that's one of the most reliable ones I've found. I also will just go to Facebook and see if they have a Facebook group. Like
Oh, okay.
our group in Key Largo, we have a group called Key Largo Pickleball.
Okay. So
So
you can get all your
and that's how we communicate with each other. "Hey, anybody wanna play at 4 this afternoon?" That kind of thing.
And do you are the courts open to anyone, or you have to belong to like
That
a
depends on
thing?
where you are. Where we've
Oh,
been playing in Key Largo, we had temporary nets, and it was on, a court that the kids would use for basketball or for hockey, and we could use it
yeah.
only in the mornings, but they have built us 10 dedicated, gorgeous, brand new pickleball courts by the time we get back. In fact, the grand opening is next week.
Oh,
So then
that's exciting.
we can play any time of day, which is really nice when we call them snowbirds. You know what snowbirds are? Those are
Yes,
people that they show up
they
for
move from
January.
the cold areas to
Yeah,
retire in
so
warmer, yeah,
it gets pretty busy in January and February when the snowbirds are there. So having the 10 courts and the ability to play any time of day will spread things out.
for sure. I mean, otherwise you're racing outside if it happens to be sunny at all,
Right.
right?
If it's sunny, and
Yeah,
then, you can have to wait. You know,
right.
we don't like to wait.
Yeah.
We want to keep
No.
playing, keep going.
So a perfect day for you is you get up, you play pickleball kind of first thing in the morning, then
Yep.
you paint all afternoon,
Yep.
and then in the hot summer months, when it's warm enough to travel, you head in the Airstream and drive all the way to Oregon or wherever. That
This
was this year's.
last year we went up the East Coast and did the Newport Jazz Festival. And then we
Okay.
went up into Maine. We went up to Bahaba. You know how to say it, Bahaba,
Bahava, Bahava.
and went to, Acadia National Park up there. We went to Portland is the place now. It's a yuppie.
Portland, Maine? Is that
Portland,
Port
Maine.
Maine?
Portland,
Okay.
Maine is, I mean, it's food heaven. Great restaurants and very chic. The young people love it. And then
Okay.
we went to Cape Cod, spent
Oh,
time
okay.
at Cape Cod, which was lovely. So, we vary it every year, and now we wanna mix it with, like, our trip to Spain and Portugal coming up in October.
Going international now.
Going
Yeah.
international, yes, but we're not taking the Airstream, we're flying.
No, right. And and how often do you work on your retirement blog?
It's been a little tough on the road because we've had not the greatest reception in some areas, so I've fallen a little bit behind, but I've been trying to. I'd like to post every week. I don't, but maybe every other week.
Okay. So, but you're doing it fairly. I mean,
Fairly
that's
often.
more than some people. Yeah, that's still
Right.
pretty often. Okay. And when
So,
you're home,
often
you're writing every week, or when you're home, you write less?
it depends. When I'm home, I'm probably focusing more on, art, pickleball, the things that I do. And when we travel, of course, almost a travelogue, of the places we've been and the things we've done.
Yeah.
And I always provide links, so if it was a
Right.
great park, a great restaurant, a great this, I always like to link to them. So it provides others with good information.
Well, and you consider yourself happy,
Yes,
correct?
I do.
Tell me why. Tell me, and how you got there and why you feel happy.
I made it. I mean,
You sure
like I
did.
said, I faced a lot of resistance, a lot of odds, a lot of. I almost gave up a few times, but and like I said, this last time, I don't know if I could have done it on my own, but having somebody else, having a partner, and we really are partners. We're good at different things.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, Kathy does the marketing. She talks to people. That's Kathy's thing.
Yeah.
He but he's very analytical. I mean, he can do anything in construction. He can do anything with the Airstream. I won't show
Yeah.
you, it's a mess right now, but he has redone parts of the interior of the Airstream. I mean, he can do anything.
Yeah.
And we just put our heads together and we managed to do it. We
To do
managed
it.
to, and it was because of our own efforts. There's no way we could be doing this if we hadn't, been able to pull it off ourselves. We did it
You
ourselves.
you were both very talented in different ways, and
Yes.
it fit together like a puzzle piece, and then it was just twice the power.
Well, and he said one time, he said, "You know what I'm afraid of? You're gonna die at your desk." because we were,
Oh,
and I thought, it made me start to think. And,
yeah.
well, let's see if we can. And that's when we started talking to other brokerages and things. And I said, but I'm not going to sell it to somebody that doesn't get it.
Right,
Couldn't. It
right.
was my baby. I mean, it was,
Yeah, I mean, you put so much, sweat equity into it,
and we spent 6 months working alongside with the folks that bought it. And, well, how did you do those blogs? How did you do those videos? Tell me about, the thought. And they have picked it up literally and made it theirs. And that's the other reason we sold our home in Delaware. It's a very small town, Lewis, Delaware. And I didn't see how I could sell it to somebody and they would make it theirs if I was still next door.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Because it was so identified with me.
So you would have been they would have been under your shadow kind of.
It would have been hard
Yeah,
for me to stay away, and it would have been hard for them to make it theirs.
yeah,
And, they have really made it theirs, and I'm proud of it. I mean, I'm proud of the job they've done.
yeah,
They've tweaked it. It has their own personality on it, but they do the videos, they do the blogs, they're focused. They've kept the focus and the whole personality of it. So
So
it feels
you
good.
keep up on what they're doing even
Of
though you don't
course.
have to?
Right.
Oh, just because you love it so much. Okay.
Yeah, I get their newsletters. I get I see what they do, and so I'm very happy about that. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
it's like
really
seeing
cool.
a child grow up and leave home and be successful.
Right. You wanna make sure they're happy and they're doing well. Yeah,
Mhm, mhm,
yeah.
and they are.
They are and you are. I mean, you said you're more relaxed now than you've ever been.
And if you didn't know me before, but that's something
That's
because
saying
I've always
something.
that's saying something. Yes, I'm not sure mellow, but yeah, I'm much more relaxed, much more. I just I can let things go.
Yeah,
It's my time now to just be happy. Just do what I wanna do.
yeah. You worked hard and now you get to enjoy yourself. I think
So
that's
do I
not too much to
wish
ask.
do I wish I had a few more years, but I'm healthy, you know? I think I turned 77 in October, and I think that's it. I think we're just gonna stay 77 forever.
That's fine. That sounds good. Yeah, why not?
It sounds, has a nice ring to it.
And you don't think you'll get to the end of your life and think, "I wish I had spent more time at my desk."
No,
Wha
no,
Yeah, I don't think so. I think
no.
your husband was right there in that on that
Yeah, and
aspect.
I realized he was right. I 'cause
Yeah,
I never knew I'd have an alternative. I really didn't. You
yeah,
know, just that's the way it was. And but I'm glad they kept our office manager. We made that a contingent, and they knew her also. Said keep Judy, until Judy's
yeah,
65. Then
yeah,
and the other agents all stayed. So that's nice to know that you built something that is it's still there. It's still doing well.
yeah, for sure. Well, Kathy, is there any other advice you'd like to give to people who might be looking for a happy retirement and they don't know if they can get there or they don't know what to do?
Well, we all know people that never really put aside money for retirement. That would be very scary to me to get to this age and not feel that I'm okay. That would be very scary. So,
Yeah.
and to others, it's not easy, but don't give up.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
you get knocked down, you got to get back up. You get knocked down, you got to get back up. That's all we really can do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that can happen to anybody. I don't care how many degrees you have or what, stuff happens. And the only thing you can do is come back, you know?
Yeah. I think
And
there's that saying that's not how many times you get knocked down, it's how many times you get back up.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, everybody has a story, but I think the only thing I can say I had was I was able to, okay, here we go again. Let's, and
Yeah.
just try again.
Yeah,
That's it. And don't let anybody else tell you, you know?
exactly. Don't
No,
you
don't,
know
because
better you know about you better than they do.
if people think you're a threat, what are they going to do? Oh, you can't do that. Go play it
Yeah.
safe. No. And, and as far as even, stop getting degrees in things that don't matter. Get
Yeah.
get training in something. Well, Bill with his one of his kids who was kind of floundering, he said, "Sean, get a trade. You
Yeah.
know, do something that eventually you can make it your own business.
Yeah.
Electrician, HVAC, plumber." And he listened, and he's
Yeah.
now become an apprentice plumber. He's doing very well. He's making money, and he's in his early 30s. After X number of years, he'll literally be able to be a licensed master plumber. It takes years, and
Yeah.
heck, have his own business. That's
Yeah.
that's the way you get security. It's
Yeah.
'cause these days people don't have the opportunity often to work for the same company for 30, 40 years and
No,
retire.
it's much
It's
more
really
rare now. Yeah.
it's much more rare now than it was, in our parents' generation for sure.
Yeah.
So get a trade. Liberal arts education is not going to get you there.
Well, let him know that in about 35 years, I'm gonna see if he'll be on the podcast.
Okay.
Uh,
No,
and
he's doing
folks,
very well. It's
well, folks, Kathy Sperl-Bell has been a real pleasure to talk to. And if you want to go and see any of her art or read her retirement blog, we're going to list all of that on our show page. But
great.
Kathy, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a real pleasure.
Well, it's been a lot of fun, Ryan. Thank you so much.